Okay, so for today's lesson, we're going to listen to a story called Luke Goes to Bat. And you've already learned a little bit about Jackie Robinson, so you have some background for the story with that. This story is realistic fiction. That means it's a story that could really happen, but it's a made-up story. So the characters act like real people. It's a setting. It could be a real place. In fact, the setting is the city of Brooklyn, which is a large city in New York. And in this story, the kids in the neighborhood play a game called stickball. Stickball is baseball played on the street rather than in the baseball field. They often used a rubber ball and a stick or a broom handle instead of a bat. So kind of like when you're playing coach's pitch or little league or t-ball, but these were kind of unorganized games that the kids would just go out and play on the street. So before we start the story, I want you to think in your head about a time that you learned to do something that was really hard. You had to work really hard to learn how to do something. Because in the story, Luke wants to play on the team with his big brother and all of his friends. But they say that he is too little. So Luke has a problem, and let's read and listen to find out how Luke solves his problem.
It was Brooklyn. It was summer. It was baseball. All day long, the kids on Bedford Avenue played stickball in the streets, except for Luke. When you're older, his big brother Nicky told him. He's just a squirt, one of the other kids said, laughing. So Luke watched the games from the curb, and then he'd practice. He threw a ball against the wall next to the deli. He practiced his swing over and over again. He ran as fast as he could, up and down the block. He wanted to be ready when it was time.
So Luke worked really hard. I mean, he didn't just sit and give up and say, well, they're not going to let me play. He kept at it. He practiced on his own over and over and over.
And at night, whenever the Dodgers were playing, Luke hurried up to the roof where he could see the lights of Ebbets Field. When he heard the crowd go wild, he imagined his favorite player, Jackie Robinson, had hit a home run. Someday, Luke thought, I will hit a home run too.
So one thing that helps Luke is the fact that he didn't give up. He really wanted to play ball with the big kids, and he believed that he could do it. Now, there's something I want you to notice about the illustrations on these pages. You notice how Luke over here is in the corner. As you can see, he's got a yellow shirt and his blue jeans on. It's in color. But the rest of the page is in black and white, kind of gray. And I think the reason the author does that is to help us understand that those are things that Luke is imagining, that Jackie Robinson and the ball players aren't really on his roof playing baseball, but he's imagining that they are doing that.
Finally, one morning, the team was short a player. Frankie had to go to his aunt's. Who we gonna get? Hey, said Luke, what about me? Everyone was quiet. Aw, come on, said his brother. Give him a chance. We got nobody else. He better not mess up. They put him in left field. No balls came his way, so he just stood there.
So how do you think the game is going to turn out? What's going to happen when Luke gets up to bat?
When it was his turn up at bat, Luke took a few practice swings, then stepped up to the plate. I'll show them, Luke muttered. The ball whizzed past. Strike one! Luke held the bat higher. Strike two! Luke was barely in position when the next ball flew past, and the catcher yelled, "Out!" "You stink!" Luke heard. He got up to bat one more time, but struck out again. "Sometimes it just goes that way," his brother told him. Frankie came back in the afternoon, so Luke spent the rest of the day on the curb. He was sure they'd never let him play again.
So Luke, he thinks, man, maybe he's not going to make it. He's not going to make his goal of being able to play in the game, but he has somebody that encourages him, and that's his big brother, because his brother says, sometimes it just goes that way. Well, I want you to listen to this next page and see who else encourages Luke.
Grandma was in the kitchen when he got home. "I finally got a chance to play with the team," Luke told her. Grandma could tell that the game hadn't gone well. "Not everyone plays like Jackie Robinson all the time," she said. "Not even Jackie Robinson." Luke didn't smile. "By the way," Grandma said, "are you doing anything tomorrow night?" Luke shrugged. "Well, if you're so busy, someone else will have to go with me to the game at Ebbets Field." "What? You mean a real game?" Grandma held up 2 tickets.
So his grandma encouraged him to keep reaching for his goals by taking him to a real baseball game.
Ebbets Field was ablaze with lights. But this time, Luke didn't have to imagine the game. "Thanks for taking me, Grandma," he said. They watched the Dodgers and Phillies battle it out. The game went into extra innings. By the time the Dodgers got up to bat in the bottom of the 14th inning, the score was still tied 8-8. With 2 outs, Jackie Robinson was up. The crowd roared. "Come on, Jackie!" Luke yelled. The pitcher threw a curveball. Jackie swung. "Strike one," the umpire called. The pitcher wound up. He threw a fastball, and Jackie missed. "Strike two." 3 balls followed. All eyes at Ebbets Field rested on Jackie. The Dodgers could still win. Luke shouted with the crowd, "Give it to 'em, Jackie! You show 'em!" Jackie looked around from under his cap, then dug his feet into the dirt. The pitcher began his wind-up. "You can do it, Jackie," Luke whispered. "You can do it." Suddenly, Luke heard the loud crack of a bat. When he looked up, the ball was flying over his head, flying over the scoreboard, flying over the walls of Ebbets Field. The crowd went wild. Luke stood up on his seat and cheered. "You showed 'em, Jackie!" "What a game," Grandma said. "See, you can't give up. Even Jackie Robinson's got to keep trying." Luke didn't answer. When Luke got home, he ran up to the roof. The lights were going out at Ebbets Field. "Come on down, it's bedtime," Nicky called. Just then, Luke saw a ball lying on the ground. "Look," he said, picking it up. "This is the home run ball that Jackie Robinson hit tonight." Nah, that's just some old ball a kid hit up on the roof, Nick said, laughing as he went downstairs. And that's when Luke saw him. It was Jackie Robinson himself. I hit that one for you, kid. Before Luke could say a word, Jackie ran to the dugout to join the other Dodgers. But he looked back one more time.
So how did Jackie Robinson never give up? Well, even when he had 3 balls and 2 strikes, he kept trying and he got a hit to win the game. So do you think Jackie Robinson really told Luke, you can't give up? I'm wondering, since this illustration on this page is similar to the one we talked about before, that maybe that's something Luke is imagining, kind of helping him keep up with that never give up attitude that he has with stickball.
Hey, kid, he said, your grandma was right. You can't give up. Thanks, Mr. Robinson. The final lights went out at Ebbets Field. Luke looked down at the winning ball and smiled. I won't, he whispered to himself. And he didn't.
How do you know, in looking at this last picture, that Luke didn't give up? Can you see what's happening on this last page? There's Luke. He's hitting the ball. He's playing in the game, and he's actually hitting the ball. So I want you to think about that now, because you're going to click next and then go on to a discussion. But think about what you've had to do, something in your life that was hard to learn or hard to do, and how did you do it? And how does that compare? How is that similar to what Luke did in the story about never giving up?